Welcome to Connect Church. We're so glad to have you here. I'm Dwayne Hawksworth, and I'm the lead pastor here at Connect in Waco. Have you ever felt like something's missing? Are you longing for a clearer sense of purpose in your life? If so, you're not alone. We're seeking to answer those questions today as we conclude a message series called What's Next? You were created for significance, not just survival. In today's discussion, we discuss learning to dream again. And we invite you to connect with us here at Connect Church and perhaps even prayerfully and financially support what we're doing. To connect with us, all you need to do is take your cell phone and text the words Connect Church to 94,000. That's the words Connect Church to 94,000. When you do, you receive a link to both connect with us and to give if you'd like. You can also go to our website at connectwaco.com. To connect with us by mail, our mailing address is Connect Church, P.O. Box 4317, Waco, Texas 76715. There'll be a screen at the end of our time together with this information too. Thank you for joining us this week, for connecting with us, and for supporting what we're doing here at Connect Church in Waco. Here's our band with a song for you this morning. Thank you again for joining us today. I hope today's online celebration is a blessing to you. As we begin week 2 of our What's Next series, I have a confession to make. I used to get in trouble a lot in school. Why? Because I was a dreamer, a daydreamer. Often my mind would drift off from the classroom to some distant dream, far from the drudgery of schoolwork. Daydreaming was also an escape from the struggles that were going on at home. The places my daydreams would take me were much more enjoyable and better to be in than the current world I was living in. That's probably why I enjoyed escaping there so much. However, I would suddenly be brought back to reality, out of my dream world, by hearing my name called out loud back to reality. As I grew up into my later teens and early adulthood, those daydreams turned into dreams for the future and the things I could possibly accomplish, things that could make life better for me, for my family, and for others. The problem with dreams is that they're not often easy to accomplish. They face obstacles and problems to bring to pass, and sometimes those dreams even have to die and seemingly become impossible to come to pass. And there's a reason for this that we'll talk about in a few minutes. In our discussion today on taking the next step in what's next, we're going to look at our dreams. Dreams look forward to a better life, a better world. Dreams look to make things better. We've all had dreams. Dreams of things we would do. Dreams of places we would go. Dreams of things we would accomplish. Dreams of who we would be. Often when I ask someone how they're doing, I get a reply of, just living the dream. Occasionally they seem to mean this, but others seem to use it in a cynical way. But for many of us, we saw those dreams run straight into a brick wall. Those dreams seem to have died with no possible way of coming back. For some of you, your circumstances are not determining your happiness, your dreams are. Or maybe it's the death of your dreams. The writer of the 126th Psalm put it this way: when the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, we were like those who dreamed. Our mouths were filled with laughter, our tongues with songs of joy. To take the next step, we need to either continue to hold to our dreams even though they seem to have died, or we need to learn to dream again, to dream a new dream. In today's discussion, we're going to look at a young man who had dreams. He was known for his dreams. In fact, his family called him the Dreamer. Even if you're not a church person or a Bible person, you may be familiar with a person in the Bible named Joseph. If for no other reason, you may know him as someone who had a coat of many colors. Joseph had big dreams, but everything in his life seemed to undermine his dreams and left them shattered and broken. Those dreams seemed impossible to come to pass. There are 5 types of people. Those with no dream, they just do life with a que sera attitude, whatever will be, will be. There are those with the wrong dream. The wrong dream is all about themselves and for themselves. Those with a stale dream. They have a dream, but they've done nothing to see it come to pass. Those with a vague dream. These people want something better. They just aren't sure what it is they want. And those with a God dream. A God dream is one that is not only in your head, but in your heart. He gave you the dream and you can't get away from it. It follows you around and lasts for years and years. What type of person do you think you are? For many of us, we need to learn to dream again. When we learn to do life with Jesus, we learn to dream again. But in order to hear the Lord's voice, we often must turn down the volume of the world's noise to hear Him. We can learn a great deal about taking the next step and dreaming again as we look at the way Joseph approached his dreams and the struggles he faced to see them come to pass. Even if you're not a church person or a Bible person, you still may be familiar with the life of an Old Testament character named Joseph. Joseph was the son of the patriarch Jacob, and we begin to read his story in the Old Testament book of Genesis. Joseph grew up in what could be considered today a bit of a dysfunctional family, which goes to show that the people in the Bible are human and flawed, just like the rest of us. A significant part of the tension in Joseph's family is that Jacob was a father who had a favorite among his children, and that was Joseph. In Genesis chapter 37 and verse 4, we read, when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. And despite the tension in Joseph's family, Joseph was still a dreamer. Picking up with verse 5, Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. He said to them, listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it. Oftentimes the dreams people had in Scripture came during sleep. These dreams had tremendous meaning in their culture. Sometimes these dreams can come from God. Other times they come from what we ate or watched on television the night before. Verse 8 tells us, his brother said to him, do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us? And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. We need to be cautious about who we share our dreams with, because not everyone will celebrate our dreams. Verse 9, then he had another dream, and he told it to his brothers. Listen, he said, I had another dream, and this time the sun and moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. This was just a different version of the same dream and had the same reaction from his family. Look at what happens in verse 10. When he told his father as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, "What is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you?" His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in his mind. In life, we will encounter dream killers. When we share our dreams and the dream killers begin telling us why we shouldn't dream what we're dreaming. Sometimes these dream killers are members of our own family. As we're about to see, these dream killers will conspire to kill our dreams on purpose. We see these dream killers in Genesis chapter 37, verses 18 through 20. Now when they saw him afar off, even before he came near, they conspired against him to kill him. Then they said to one another, "Look, this dreamer's coming. Come, therefore let us now kill him and cast him into some pit, and we shall say some wild beast has devoured him. We shall see what will become of his dreams." Their purpose was to kill Joseph's dreams to make sure they never came to pass. You'll encounter people in your life that will try desperately to kill your dreams too. God had bigger plans for Joseph, but they led him through some very painful and difficult circumstances. His brothers conspired to kill him, but instead decided to sell him into slavery. He ends up in the house of a man named Potiphar, where he is treated well and is blessed. But Potiphar's wife attempts to seduce Joseph. When he resists and runs away, she accuses him of attempting to assault her, and Joseph ends up in prison. Again, he does his best, is helpful and blessed. These difficulties and hardships not only reveal the type of character that Joseph had. Let's pick up with a key point in the life of the story of Joseph. It's found in Genesis chapter 40 and verse 6. When Joseph came to them the next morning, he saw that they were dejected. He asked Pharaoh's officials, who were in the custody of him in his master's house, "Why do you look so sad today?" "We both had dreams," they answered, "but there's no one to interpret them." Then Joseph said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dreams." Joseph could have become bitter because of his unfulfilled dreams. He could have responded by saying, "Dreams? Let me tell you what dreams get you. Dreams got me hated even more, sold into slavery, and finally ended up in prison." But he didn't do that. Joseph listened to their dreams, and the Lord gave him the meaning of the dreams. The dreams came to pass just as he said they would, but then Joseph was forgotten and remained in prison. That is, until Pharaoh had a disturbing dream, and he wanted to know the meaning of it. No one in his court could give him the meaning. It was then Pharaoh's cupbearer, one of the ones Joseph gave the interpretation of his dreams, remembered Joseph. And the life of Joseph is an amazing story with amazing events. Through the interpretation of Pharaoh's dreams of a coming 7-year famine that would be devastating to the entire region, not just Egypt, Joseph is immediately promoted from prison to second only to Pharaoh in authority in Egypt. He begins the process to save the lives of thousands of people. The famine impacts Joseph's family back in Canaan, so when Jacob learns there's food in Egypt, he sends his sons to buy some. Let's pick up the story in Genesis chapter 42, verses 6 through 8. So when Joseph's brothers arrived, they bowed down to him with their faces to the ground. As soon as Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them, but he pretended to be a stranger and spoke harshly to them. "Where do you come from?" he asked. "From the land of Canaan," they replied, "to buy food." Although Joseph recognized his brothers, they did not recognize him. Now, years have passed since they sold Joseph into slavery. He's changed. He's now a grown man, not just a youth. Not only is he's changed in appearance, but they never anticipate that their younger brother would now be the second in command in Egypt, next only to Pharaoh. And I can understand this. Those who went to school with my children years ago will often remember me, come up and say hello, but they've changed so much over the years that I don't often recognize them. Joseph's brothers make more than one trip to Egypt for food, but Joseph does not reveal his identity to them. And this is my favorite part of the story of Joseph. He eventually reveals his identity to his brothers. Joseph sees his life and story from the big picture. Instead of vindictive and resentful, he's forgiving and understanding. Listen to what he says to his brothers in Genesis chapter 45, verses 5 and 7. "Do not be distressed. Do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on the earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance." I love the next passage in Genesis chapter 42 and verse 9. "Then he remembered his dreams." Here were his brothers bowing before him, and Joseph saw his dreams come to pass before his very eyes. In Joseph's younger years, as many people do in their youth, he had dreams for his life. Joseph faced painful hardships of being rejected by his family, sold into slavery, lied about concerning his integrity, and forgotten when he helped others. Instead of bitter, Joseph got better. Instead of giving up, Joseph gave his best. Joseph held to his dreams, and the day came when he saw his dreams come to pass before his very eyes. Not every dream we have for our lives or for the future is a dream that comes from the Lord, but you can dream again. You can see your dreams come to pass. In the New Testament letter we know as the book of Acts, chapter 2, verse 17, Luke records the words of the Apostle Peter, who says, "In the last days," God says, "I will pour out my Spirit on all people. Your sons and your daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions, and your old men will dream dreams." For many of you, your circumstances are not determining your happiness. Your dreams are doing that, or their absence. It's time for you to get quiet with the Lord and ask Him to rekindle the dream. Or maybe it looks like your dream has died and there's no hope. Again, it's time for you to get quiet with the Lord and allow Him to whisper into your heart about the future. The Lord has a way of resurrecting your dreams. Just like Joseph, you may be in a period of preparation. Joseph's experiences with his brothers, with Potiphar and his wife, with prison, all of these were part of the process to develop his character. Also, to have him where he needed to be, when he needed to be there, and, this part's important, to have the godly character he needed to accomplish what he was able to accomplish. We cannot control the things that happen in our lives, but we can control our response and attitude to those things. Let me say that again. We can't control what happens to us, but we can control our response. Whether we're longing for a dream, holding to a dream, or mourning the death of a dream, we can still see Jesus do amazing things in our lives. We need to get alone with Jesus, the giver of dreams, and let Him breathe fresh life into our dreams. We need to take the next step. It's time, once again, to dream again.